didn't start recording, and I'd been talking for about 5 minutes about all the maps and stuff, so I'll give you guys a bit of a rundown on that. So today's maps, I'd actually just typed it out to our players. We had, where are we? Equal Footing is map number 1, the nice, good old standard map. Mountain Crossing is a map number 2, bit of a nice cheesy, watery map there. Wildwoods for a nice, open macro map, but with a bit of anti-rush mechanics in the way of the big forest and mid-map. We've got Inland, which is another nice big map with lots of water, and Ghost Lake, which is a smaller map but with no water at all. Recon's magnum opus. But let's get this underway. We've got Happy Smurf versus Taz today for our contestants in our third place match. So big shout outs to the pair of them for coming this far. They were losers in the semi-finals yesterday, and they're going to back it up today with the best of 5 game. And then after this, we're going to have Alundra versus Sa Majesté. So we're going to go to a big screen, and we've loaded in. So great, we're going to have Happy Smurf on blue today, because he's going to appreciate that for sure. I'll give Sa Majesté blue in the next game, just because he's tipped to win in a sense. He's beaten Sa Majesté already in the tournament, but he hasn't played him yet in the series game. It was only a best of 1, so we'll have to see what he's got up his sleeves there. But anyway, back onto this game. Our player number 1 today, we've got Happy Smurf as our blue Greeks player, spawning on the bottom side of this map. He hasn't gone on to a hunt just yet. He has actually found these ones over here, but he's gone to take the one on this side. So I don't think he actually realised he'd seen these. Probably just a bit of tournament nerves. Not really paying much attention just to the peripherals around, because a lot of the time you will see only a deer, 2 deer, 3 deer off of the corner of your base, but that's sort of your most natural hunt to jump out to, because it's got the least travel time to send your villagers there. It's going to be the most defendable, closest to your town centre, so if you can pull units back, they've only got to come a small distance back to actually be able to kite units under the town centre range. Got a barracks coming out for Taz already, and a barracks coming out here for Happy Smurf. Happy Smurfs is marginally ahead on the health. Seems to be a little bit laggy, just judging by the way the health is counting up. It seems a bit jittery. I can just tell. This one might be a tad laggy. I might have to resign midway through. But at the same time, I don't like resigning too early, because it's good to be able to do this. So, Taz coming in, seeing the barracks now. Hasn't seen Happy's hunt yet, because it's over here on the backside. Actually scouting out where he would expand to for that next hunt, or where I said he probably could have gone for his first one, considering the distance. Because he could have thrown down the storehouse right there and practically been able to defend it with the town centre. But in saying that, Taz hasn't scouted this yet. He's going to have to do another lap around, but instead opting to come back and do a bit more macro scouting. But Happy is patrolling just to see what's coming out of the barracks, and yeah, you can see the spearman there. He's going to see the other one in a sec, so perfect. He's going to get a good read of this, going to get to know what's on the way in. Needs to get a little bit more wood though. I'll be 1 second. Anyway, back to it. So, Happy Smurf going to have the spears to defend against Taz for now. The Greek spears, they are a 60 cost unit. They do take a little bit longer to train than the Egyptian spears, which are only a 45 cost unit, and they do even drop down with their champion upgrade. But the Egyptian spears, really quite disposable, which means the Egyptian player doesn't have to spend a lot on each one of them, but at the same time, they cannot fight 1-to-1 with Greek, Norse, or Babylonian spears. It's just, if you get approached in even numbers, you just can't take the fight and you have to back off, just because you'll die so quickly, and you don't have a movement speed advantage like Celts do, where you can just butz it straight out of there and go straight onto the hunt. So if you can't do that as the Celt, then as the Egyptian, for instance, you've sort of just got to back off and kind of hope that you can actually flank them around from a longer angle, and that the Greek doesn't push into you at a rough time. But if you get your H2 out, you can go for the Axeman, which will spawn relatively quickly, quite cheap as well. The Greek has the Hypaspis, but it feels more natural getting on the Axeman as the Egyptian, because you don't have another counter infantry option. The Greek has the Toxotes, so he's probably going to want to opt for those instead. So forcing him to get on early Hypaspis and getting out your own early Axeman is really good in this situation. But at the same time, with the Greek player, if you play quite boldly here, you can actually push straight onto your opponent here, and he might get the priestess. Taz could just actually garrison her, but instead he's just going to micro her to the far side of the town centre go straight back on. So pretty much for much there, not actually taking any damage on that. Happy not getting any value out of these spears so far just yet, other than a bit of delay on that priestess training. But at the same time, Happy Smurf is going to have to defend against this, because there is a spear down here harassing where he's intending to put up some houses as well. So he needs to get these houses down as well, and Taz is going to be able to snipe these with ease if he chooses to do so. At the same time, a spear goes down for him. Happy still has these in reserve up here. Oh, there is a fight going on here. Taz is actually trying to take a boar down with a pair of axemen, but loses one in the process and is going to be rallied onto the other and lose this boar as well. So he's underestimating the power of the boar. 25 damage, man, that's OP. PF2K, can we have a look at that, man? Can we get that reduced, please? Can it be 0, please? Anyway, so Happy Smurf backing off with the spears now. He's run them actually through again and taken a little bit more damage, but he hasn't really copped any fire from the axeman. At the same time, Taz hasn't opted to bring anything else down here yet. Happy Smurf finishing off the houses. Both players now in their age 2, and Happy Smurf getting his range. Taz working towards his stone, but he often does this. He doesn't actually get... Oh, here we go. Taz is attempting to fight the boar with only 2 spears, and he's gonna possibly lose it. Not quite, but it's still really low. I don't know, it's just funny. Just seeing people not using enough, or not using the scout and like TC fire to try and kill huntables, or just wait till they've got the second town center, put it here and actually just shoot it. Because it just, you know, if you lose military units, you know, you're down on army. You lose villages, you're down on economy. So you don't really want to be doing either of those things early on, because you just, a lot of the time, if your opponent is playing it as aggressively as he can, then you just cannot afford for that to happen. So Happy Smurf going to get a good engage here, because there's only 2 spears to defend. So Taz forced back off to these boars, and there is a bit of travel distance. He could actually go for a storehouse right here and get 1,000 food as well as that all that gold. So that could be worth looking at, but he needs to clean up these spears first. He does have the speed to do so, because the axemen are actually a speed faster at 7 versus 6, so the same speed as the Celt infantry base speed, other than words of course. But Happy Smurf again just running villages through, and Taz has a couple of idlers here, throwing down the town center, but only has the first 5 over there, sending the other 2 now. Happy Smurf in the meantime hasn't taken his age 2, so we're gonna have to, I mean, has taken his age 2, but hasn't taken his second town center yet, because he's a little bit slower on the stone here. So both players probably could have even looked at delaying the age 2, getting the stone out as much as they needed, and the wood to actually throw it down the moment age 2 finishes. And I do like the axeman coming out here from Taz. I do like the Toxotes coming out here from Happy Smurf, but here are some camels now for Taz as well. This is really nice for him, but Happy Smurf does have some spears to clean this up with, but he hasn't actually sent one in yet. And Happy Smurf needs to be careful to not overproduce on Hypaspis, because if Taz goes for a lot of camels early, then the Hypaspis just aren't going to be able to get the value fighting into them like the Spearmen can with their nice 33 damage with the triple multiplier of their 11 damage onto the camels, whereas these Hypaspis are going to just deal a flat 11 damage, and they've actually got 10 less health? No, they've got the same amount of health, so the units, you know, the Spearmen are just going to be so much better in value for Happy Smurf at this point, and he is getting more Spearmen, so that's great for him. He's noticed that he does really need to have something to deal with the camels, and he is going to get a stables to get out his Saris, and going for the stables in age 2 as early as you can is often nice, and getting a second even if you aren't going to produce a lot of Saris, because when you do age 3, you're going to want to have at least double, if not triple, Prodromos production early on in age 3, because you need to be able to deal with enemy Civ cavalry in pretty much all matchups, except for Celt, you know, just as a necessity, because the Celt player, obviously, they're going to be in an even worse boat than the Greek in that regard. And this is nice harass here from Taz. He might get a villager out of this. So he does! Oh, that's nice for him. So he's up by 8 villagers now, actually. So the second town center, the camel harass, been doing a lot. But like I was saying, it's really only in Celt versus Greek where the Greek player can afford to play without the stables generally. Obviously there are exceptions. If you're playing against someone that doesn't like playing around cavalry on, say, Babylonian, Norse, Persian or Egyptian, you know, you're obviously going to try and play around your barracks and your range as well. But against any of those matchups, you're going to need a few spearmen. You're going to need to have your stables there ready for your saris to deal damage to any mounted that are ranged, like the chariots out of Egypt's Age 3 or the mounted archers from Babylon's and Persia's Age 3, for instance. Or you're going to need prodromos to deal with just the actual cavalry flag mounted units, and you can't actually build them in Age 3, so you can't actually bank them up ready to deal with your opponent's Age 3 units. You need to be able to play reactively as quick as your opponent can play proactively, and it's a bit of a hard thing to do, but when you can do it, it allows you to really snatch back control in the tougher matchups in the game. And it's a lot of the reasons why people think matchups are, you know, deceptively balanced in a sense, just because people aren't used to the fact that they've got to watch that aspect of the play so much more than in the other matchups where they are the more proactive player, where, oh, I just got the cavalry unit, I win the map control, you know. When things swing back the other way in the next stage, you know, you need to be ready to pounce on that opportunity and get the full value out of that. And so the Spearman Champion coming in for Happy Smurf. So this is a nice upgrade because it does actually give them, well, they get out a little bit more health. It's kicked in yet? Oh, more, is it more snare and more? I'm not even sure what the upgrade is. I've completely forgotten what the Spearman Champion upgrade for the Greek does. And this is some nice harass attempt here from Happy Smurf, but it is going to get denied. He's only sending that pair of spearmen that were just hiding out in the corner, and he's not going to be able to deal a lot of damage. He could have taken an opportunity here just to chip away at these villages, but alas, it was not to be. In the meantime, he's got to defend with this big pack of camels, and he can't afford for these saris to just tank damage like that, because the camels are going to deal like 40 damage to them in the process. So you really don't want that to happen. But at the same time, Happy Smurf has the units, he has spearmen in the mix, he has got some range to the back line, just dealing that little bit of extra damage. The camels can't afford to stick around their own, so this harass is only going to be able to deal a little bit more damage here. But it's just about going to die to the town centre fire and these spears now, so meantime, Happy Smurf sending out 5 saris, so he's going to be able to get some value with that, I think, because Taz is actually gathering over here at the far side. And does Happy actually know about this? So Happy knows about the hunt, so he's probably just going to check it just to make sure, or run the saris through, and he's going to spot this, so this will be great for him. Oh, in fact, he's even rallied past it, so oh, that's not so good for him. Oh no, here we go, he's only rallied just a little bit past it. Okay, so he sent a spearman to clean up that camel, so that's pretty good for Happy. He's not getting any loss there, getting a unit kill. These saris pushing Taz off the hunt. So a couple of axemen going to try and clean that up, but it's not going to be enough. There's still a villager up over there, so 61 village count to Taz, 30 to Happy Smurf. So Happy Smurf has actually really cut his villages at this stage, which is going to be really unfortunate for him, because Taz is going to have the economic lead to be able to throw away units time and time again. And Happy Smurf trying to go out the storehouse, not so effective as going for the villager here, because these saris, they've got some damage, but it's not a huge amount of base damage. So they've got a nice amount of bonus against the villager, an extra 20%, but at the same time, with Happy Smurf down so far in economy, I'm not sure if any amount of harass is going to be enough. He's going to basically have to obliterate Taz's entire army to make up for the fact that he's got half his workers. And I think Taz might even... Oh, Taz has got the army, he hasn't got any armory upgrades yet though. Taz just snuck in an Age 3 here, going on to the 3 town centres, getting the fortress. So he's only building 2 workers at once now, but with a potential triple production and a worker count lead, he's in a nice position now to just defend, max out and push into his opponent. Happy Smurf is going to have to play the catch-up game here. I don't know why he's cut his villages so much. Might just be the fact that he's so low on food and he's not looking at expanding around the map to get on the berries, to get on more of these hunts, which is a big shame because there is a lot of food out in the map, and the moment your opponent hasn't got perfect map control over you, there's plenty of space to take both pickers, gloves for the berries, and hunting dogs for the deer, sit on one or even two sets of them the entire time, and even go for a small number of farms, but a little bit later than this. Or, yeah, go for these deer as well, I mean these boar, because they're perfectly under the town centre range. So if you just shoot them with the town centre, they'll be rallied to it, they'll die to it, and you get that lovely amount of food, 500 per, and it's a no-brainer considering these farms are so expensive. And you know, unfortunately, I'm sorry to pick apart Happy over this, but it sort of needs to be done because he needs to learn to optimize his economy as much as he can. He's got these berries still up here to gather, and without the player upgrade, the berries are actually going to be just as fast as the farms. Yeah, the berries are just as fast as the farms, right? And player is 10%. Picker's gloves is 20, so Picker's gloves is worth twice player. So you should always take Picker's gloves, go for the berries the moment you can't get on the hunts. He hasn't got hunting dogs either, but hunting dogs, it's a bit more of a questionable take. It actually costs an extra 50 gold compared to Pickers and only deals 10% rather than 20% increase. And your huntables are going to be faster than everything else up until like late game if you're on a civ with like all three farming upgrades. Actually no, I think farms are still even going to be slower than your hunts, so a lot of the time people even just skip the huntable upgrade because you've got that much base speed, and even though 10% works out to being like 15% of the others, it's still, you know, you can get plenty out of going for the hunts themselves as long as they're secure. There's plenty of food around the map. There's another one over here, but there's probably another one over here that just hasn't been scouted. Big number of camels now in the mix. Happy Smurf actually a little bit quicker on the upgrades, so Taz going for double upgrades, but he hasn't empowered them with one of his priestesses, so they're not popping out as quick as they can. Happy Smurf, in the meanwhile, already slightly ahead on upgrades. He's got his melee damage and melee armor upgrades. Hasn't got any ranged armor or damage. I do like the use of the melee armor upgrade, but the melee damage, I mean, it's good once the Prodromos come out, but at the same time, he's going to have Toxotes, he's going to have Saris. I'm not quite sure what, and he's had them the whole game. I'm not quite sure why he hasn't taken the opportunity to try and get those as well. But these guys will learn in time, I suppose. And they've already come this far, so I do have to congratulate them for that. So Taz already on the market, so he can get a nice track over to this town centre here. He's going to be able to get, come on, show me, 63 gold, guys. So that's 6 villager trips worth of gold, even though it takes probably 5 villager trips worth to actually travel that distance. Actually, no, that'd be 50 seconds. That's quite a fair bit more than that. No, it's not that long. More about 40, but here we got a big engage going down, but it looks as though Taz is a fair bit ahead because he's so far ahead in population, and Happy Smurf, we could try and split these guys up because they are just going to take a couple of big hits and fall at area damage on the war elephants, but it just seems as though Taz has got too much of an economic advantage over his opponent at this point, and he's able to push straight over the top of Happy, which is unfortunate. We've got a bit of a GG here, but yeah, I think this is where things are really telling. Happy Smurf really probably could have maintained villager production and mirror Taz's there and had a much more even fight and taken the game into a later phase of play, because he didn't start out too badly, but he did start to slip behind on workers. He got down to about 8 behind there early on, but yeah, in the end he finished up at 41 to 80 villagers, so that was really the big difference between the players. Taz just macroing up that little bit better there, keeping up the villager production, and we've got a GG to Taz for game number 1. Oops. I'm just going to find out if our players are ready to go. And this is not sponsored, so hold up with that legality stuff. Looks like these guys are ready to go. So we've got game. Whoops. Game number 2. What did I say the map was? I gotta figure out what the map was again. Bear with me a sec. Oh, Mountain Crossing. Cool. Alright. So we've got the best map ever invented in all of RTS. Because it's my favourite map in this game. Oh! So for some reason, it's not wanting to start just yet. I'm just going to kick Taz and invite him again. Oh no, here we go. He just wasn't actually left. He was just still in the quest. So we've got Mountain Crossing coming up for game number 2. You know that sound, guys? That's the sound of a game starting. I like that sound. That's the sound you should hear when you alt-tab in this game. Because if you don't hear it, then you should start panicking. Start checking your ports. And please, guys, check your ports. If you're gonna... This is from me and from all the experienced players in this game, guys. When you first start playing PvP in this game, you want to make sure your ports 1000 to 1005 UDP afforded. Just please, for me, for Carnage, for Wout, for PF2K, for Eerie, for Zerton, for the Mister, for Crimson, for Vahuva, for Zerton. I've already said Zerton. For Zeus. You know where I'm going with this. Anyway, guys, just make sure that if you want to get into PvP or even into co-op, to forward your ports, and there are lots of guides on the web to that. We'll take it away for game number 2 today. You've got Happy Smurf spawning as the Blue Greek player, going for that starting barracks. Gonna try and see if you can find the lake, but he's actually just parked his scout here. Out of the way, like a good boy. You know, out of the way of oncoming traffic. All the way over here in the parking space. Anyway, spawning as the red Egyptian player today. We've got Taz, also going for an early barracks. So this is interesting. Neither player going for a starting dock. And both players with a pretty crappy water. So this means they've both got lovely potential to proxy dock one another. And because they've both got it, because they both got such crappy water lines here, this is the best part about this map when this happens. Because they both got it, it's a fair game, guys. I love it. I love it. A fair game of Age of Empires Online on Mountain Crossing. That's also cheesy as hell. Alright, so, but neither player opting for a starting dock, and, well, they could always get the wood to go for one on their opponent, or try and contest this middle, because if you can go for, whoops, what am I doing there? If you can go for this, there is about twice the number of fishing ponds, of fish pools, fishing ponds, schools of fish here, which means twice the number of resources. So guys, do the maths, build the dock in the middle lake, win the game, except in the odd case where you do manage to just proxy dock your opponent and get some value out of harassing him because he's got like a really close stone or gold spawn there that's within your ship range. You can do that as well, but it's up to you. So this is interesting. A little bit, I don't know if it's bad mannered. I don't know if these two can be bad mannered to one another because they're just good friends. A storehouse here on this hunt, I guess it is a bit, because it sort of means that there's not a huge number of hunts here on your side. You've usually got one over here, oh yeah, one over there, or down here or up there, one over here, and then one either down here or up here, and then you've got like one or two on each side of these Actually, I think there's like 2 to 3 here sometimes. 1 up here usually. So there's not a huge number. Not a huge number of deer. And this is going to prompt Happy Smurf to come run straight into this. But he's actually turned around because he's got another spearman on the way. So if you can focus fire here, he can actually win this fight because he's got the unit value. The Egyptian spears hit for 1 less damage. They've got not 90. 70 less health? Yeah, 70 less health. So if you can take a good fight with the Greek spears, you can really turn things around here. But Taz with this cheeky forward hunt. I'm wondering if he's going to go for a forward town setter. Because Mountain Crossing is actually, funnily enough, one of the better maps to do it on, because it forces, if you can do it this early and your opponent has got a lake dock or no dock, and you're playing like a low eco Mountain Crossing, there's that little food on the land, and it's that hard to get to, that it tends to make it a really good map for forward TC, base cheesing. Guys, I didn't tell you this, because Carnage would kill me for telling you this, because cheese shouldn't work in this game. But, yeah, that's just a little tip. I wonder if Taz is going to do it. This is the first time I've seen all tournament Taz build a frickin' storehouse on this stone mine. Like, can we have a round of applause for our boy Taz? Okay, maybe a short one, because look, only a short one, because like that. What's this? It's right next to it, man. Like, what the hell is this? Nah, I'm just kidding. Sorry to give it to you guys so much, but I feel like a prick now. I'm sorry, guys. Nah, but guys, in all honesty, if you can position your gold mine and your stone mine storehouses 1 space back, it gives you the opportunity to have these villages, all 4 or sometimes even 5 of them, stacked up side by side, gathering off there for the most efficient, basically zero distance time for drop off. Whereas this villager here and this villager here, they're going to have to actually do a little bit of a trek to actually garrison. Even this villager here, like, they're all going to have to travel that little bit of distance. So you can basically get that slight amount more value out of your gathering. And it's a bit of an exponential effect, because you get it over here, you get it here, you get it here, you get it here. You know, you can keep getting it at every single point on the map, and all of a sudden you're getting 4 or 5 extra seconds of villager time by 6 or by 8, you know. And suddenly you can be a handful of units ahead out in the field. And it's, you know, if you can do that, guys, it's great. So the scout for Happy Smurf, just checking out everything going on for Taz, who's... Oh, did he see that? Did he see that? He did see that. So Happy Smurf is going to see a later dock from his opponent going down. At the same time, is dealing with Axemen. Even Slingers in the mix, so Happy Smurf going to sort of be baited into going for more Hypaspis, because if he gets a single Toxotes out and there's 2 Slingers out, you know, he's got to be very careful that Taz doesn't just micro bow Slingers straight on the Toxotes and just one-shot it with a volley from the 2 Slingers. So ship's going to be coming out for Taz, but Happy Smurf going to go up to... Oh, what? Happy Smurf's all the way up to 5 ships and going to take a 6th. So this is quite greedy in essence, because you're going to run through this 6,000... this 3,000 food source pretty quickly, and if you can get by spending 100 wood per 1,000 food, like get 3 fishing ships, then great. Like it gives you the perfect amount of saturation in essence, because it means that if you do want to get a bit more food, you just take the dock up here, or you just take the dock down here and wall this off. So yeah, guys, that's the ideal way to saturate it. Like at most I'd probably go to 4, but I would never go beyond 4 fishing ships on a pond, on Mountain Crossing, or on inland. 4 is like the absolute maximum. 2 to 3 is ideal. 2 is like, well, I want to skimp for now because I can go for more stuff on the land. Or I can force out faster production facilities, or get an armory, get some armor upgrades, or whatever have you. You know, get 2. 3 is ideal to play just a standard game, and 4, well, yeah, that's when you really just want to burn through this. But going up to 6, going up to 7, going up beyond that even. Oh, he's going up to 8. Happy Smurf, crazy. You're crazy. With that 8, he could go for 3 down there, get a dock up here, build another 3, and look, Taz is only just scouting it now too, so he could have already been on there. Could have even had a warship waiting, or a tower waiting, or something to deny his opponent's opportunity to expand on there with ease, and force him to get camels or something of that nature. So Taz, what are you doing? You are defying all logic right now, but you're doing it pretty intelligently, because he's got multiple villages and a priestess here. Priestess useful as well, because you can heal up all these big boppers for the Egyptian. And Taz microing back, which actually puts the slingers at the back. So a lot of the time, if you want to sort of dance with your opponent, it's helpful to actually be mindful of how you can actually engage and back out to get your back line to the front, your front line to the back, or reverse things to get your front line back to the front or your back line back to the back. You know? And it all comes down to which way you group units up and click. I can't really show you obviously, because that would mean taking control of one of these players' units in our tournament today. But there's another fortress going down. Unit's going to be, fortress, barracks going down. Unit's going to be streaming out. No conditioning yet though, so this is a little bit surprising, because with conditioning, you can build units that much faster, 20%, so you're going to halve, you're not going to halve upgrade time, you're going to take off a second, 2 seconds, upgrade time off all these units, and basically you build 10 units, that's already paid for itself in essence in terms of the time spent training, and on top of that, yeah, you can get that advantage out of all these barracks. Otherwise you just spend all of age 2 training units out of this, only to want to dump the composition because your opponent's got age 3 because you've taken that long to get everything, and they've changed things up on you. But economically, Happy Smurf, I think he's doing better this game. 40 to 45 villages, so he's still down by a small number. But he's got more fishing ships over Taz. He's going to burn through the water faster, but at the same time, he's gathering a lot better with these. And he's going to be probably more content to take the water quicker, because Taz is actually on the hunt there, taking the hunt here, and right now there's a big fight going down, but Happy Smurf actually has a lot more of a front line at the moment. And Taz is forced to retreat because I think he's underestimated just how much he needed to push there. Happy Smurf able to actually keep up in the macro this game. Bit of rust, bit of nerves last game, and he did fall behind on the village count quite big there. But with I think the added food eco, he's actually able to get all the units out that he needs. He just needs to look at expanding onto berries in his base and out just to the top side of it, and maybe even going for this dock up here, or trying to sneak the hunt down here in revenge for Taz taking this hunt here. These greedy barracks are now going to get punished, so that's another 400 resources for Taz that are going to go down the toilet in essence, because he could have taken them here and got largely the same effect, I think. But at the same time, it did allow him to mount that rush a little bit faster, although he did, need to get more units. This priestess actually just alone by herself, so I wonder if it's a potential bait attempt or if Taz has just forgotten about her, because he won't want to lose her. 100 gold there, so not cheap. Happy Smurf now jumping ahead in score and ahead in population. He's up 90 to 76 population, 44 to 59 villages though, so in the meantime he's actually cut his villager production a lot during that fight. Taz has kept it up, and yeah, all these ships have now finished on that water, so Happy Smurf now ducking down again in score, because these guys are basically just dead weight here in the water. You just delete them all. The fact that he got 8 means that he's burned through that almost twice as quickly, almost 3 times as quickly as he normally would. And yeah, he could have expanded up here, continued gathering, not had the problem where he'd have to get rid of all these guys. He could just delete 2, have all the rest of them up here, because he's had to delete them all now to make up population space to get villages, to get more wood, to get back on there, or get farms out. Skip farms, Happy. What? Skip, delete them right now, delete them and put them up here. Someone needs to tell this man to start listening to the stream. Hang on, wait, that's cheating. You can't do that. Right now, Happy Smurf taking a good engage into Taz, who is up on population, but he's actually largely up on worker pop, and this fortress being forced down, but he does get denied, because there is a unit of Happy Smurf standing over the top of it first, and Taz with a bit of a panic fortress, but Happy Smurf needs to be able to continue to mount pressure here. He's got Saris in here chipping away at the marker, but that's going to take forever and a day to actually kill. He's going to need to actually focus targets down, and he's overplayed. He's overstayed his welcome here. He probably should have just kept fighting the. Either if you did jump on this immediately, just fight the units as far back as you can. Chip away at houses. Try and interrupt all this stuff as much as you can. And here we go. Happy Smurf killing a couple more caravans in the meantime, so he did get a bit of value out of that though. Taz yet to take the lake, continuing to gather over this side, getting some fairly greedy camels, so this is actually interesting. This is a good use of proxy units, because Happy Smurf had no idea this was incoming, and now it's dealt a pretty significant amount of damage because there's 3 stables being slowed down, or what I assume to be a 3rd stable, so there's definitely 2. They're all being snatched up. Happy Smurf getting into his age 3, but his chance to go to Prodromos en masse has largely been spoiled here. And these are only camels, they're not champion camels just yet, so Toxotes aren't going to melt to them straight away, so Taz actually choosing to back out, because unless he can get on all the Toxotes and avoid all the spears, he can't take too much of a cost-effective trade there. Axeman being added here for Taz, so not going to be hugely useful against the Saris, but once they get the champion upgrade, they're going to be good in general against units of Happy Smurfs that do meet his front line, because a little bit of area damage they all get pretty much tends to stack up along the whole front line. And now the Axeman going to chip away at the Saris. Wonder how long it's going to take for Happy to notice, because he is stacking some workers up here to do something. Not quite sure. Oh, does he need more stone? He needs more wood. But now the Axeman champion coming in, so they do a little bit more damage. And they've got, yeah, that nice single field area of effect. So units adjacent to other units are going to get that little bit more damage. And this big ball of camels being deflected again. No champion yet, but once the champion upgrade kicks in, with their double damage against ranged, and with the fact that the Saris and the Toxotes is going to be dealing a little bit less, means that they're going to be so much more versatile. The health upgrade is going to mean that they can, I wouldn't say stick around to fight huge numbers of Prodromos, but at least not be so exposed to them, and the Greek is going to have to wait just that little bit longer before he can actually take the fight with the Prodromos once the champion upgrade and the camels kicks in. And there's a huge number of Axemen there, and because there's not a huge number of Toxotes in the mix, they can actually come right through and clean everything up. I don't know if there's Hypaspis champion, or just Hypaspis I think. Right now Taz 150 population of about 60 for Happy Smurf, so Happy Smurf all the way down to 40 villages. Taz on 71, nothing in production for either player really at the moment. Happy Smurf, I think, largely caught off guard here. I don't think he was expecting Taz to max out that fast and push into him like that. GG, well played guys. So the villagers trained. Happy Smurf doing a much better job of his village production up to about 11 minutes there, but just faltering from then on I think, and from there Taz really relishing the opportunity to max out just about in age 3, well age 2, well age 3 but off age 2 eco. He's only got the 2 town centres, but yeah, he's pretty much well maxed out. Alright, well GG. I think Taz is actually going to civ swap now for this next game, and yeah, a bit of a resource differential then, so Taz actually still on the water because he's got 2 fishing ships, so he had over 1,000 food left to gather there. Happy Smurf cleaned this up with like 2 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go, even deleting 8 fishing ships. Meanwhile, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ponds. I think, yeah, there's... Which one is that selected? So yeah, you can get either 5 or 6, so it's worth 1 2/3 to 2 times as much as one of these ponds And it's a bit of a surprise to see neither player taking it, but some smart walls there from Taz, denying any raiding opportunity. Anyway, I'm going to take us over to game number 3 because the players are just about ready to go. So just bear with me. Oop. Alright, so we're back underway. Game number 3 today is going to be played on Wildwoods. And this is basically match point because Happy Smurf is down by 2 points at the moment. Taz has really done well to upset the apple cart so far. Happy Smurf perhaps a little bit sluggish in his macro for these games. But with both players civ swapping now, this is interesting. So we're just going to have a bit of a laugh here, quickly. Taz, last time this matchup happened, Kaya clapped me so bad. Happy Smurf has never played Norse. Oh my goodness. Well, I said I'd say make Raid a win game, but this is the worst civ to make Raiders against. Alright, so we're just about to start. It won't be a second, guys. Where's Wildwoods got to? You elusive bugger, where are you? Wildwoods, there we go. Oh, actually. Nearly did it with the wrong player colours. I'd never be allowed to cast again if I put Happy Smurf. If I had to put Happy Smurf in red for 3 games in a row. Alright, so... taking it away now, we've got our lovely map Wildwoods. Yeah, Taz just said this map is big too. He said last map was big. This is a big chonky map for sure. There's this huge amount of wood in the center. And I wonder if you get lucky enough or unlucky enough with Siege, it'll ever have a point where there's just this slight trail through here that you can just send a small amount of units through and harass your opponent. Because I think that'd be hilarious if someone pulled that off in a game and it just like ended up being game winning because it was completely unexpected. Like both players had walled the hell up out the sides of the map and only one of them had realised. Anyway, spawning over here, it's player number 1 today. And he's decided to defect from the Greeks and play something he's never played before. When he's down by two games in a best of 5, we've got Happy Smurf playing as Norse. Man, you are crazy. But anyway, if you win this and you turn this series because of this game, you will go down as the greatest legend this game has ever known. Anyway, spawning over here. Player number 2 today, back to his roots really. Taz has gone back to playing Celt, and he's player number 2, the red player. So him on Celt, it's not too unusual if you've known him for a little while. Although he has been playing Egyptians mainly for a little while, and doing all sorts of freaky stuff. But for now, he's actually going to play his Celt, and he's going for the fairly aggressive Spearman opening. So has he actually scouted this? He has. So this is perfect for Taz. Not so good for Happy Smurf. He's going to be late on the barracks. Actually going for a fast stage through too, which possibly not the worst idea, as long as he can manage to get back on the food here, because he's going to need to at least maintain that. He's going to go for the storehouse straight away. He's going to have to pull this villager back, but I think she's going to be alright, because that spear is going down for Taz. So Taz is going to lose. I think he's going to lose this villager. So that's really lucky for Happy Smurf in essence, because I wonder if Happy Smurf can actually just micro the TC on to attack that one too. Because Happy Smurf, going to get the fast stage up, does get the opportunity to go for a quick barracks and get the throwing axemen out. A small number to just dissuade your opponent of getting a lot of spearmen. So he is going to do that. Possibly didn't need to pull this many. You really probably need 4 or 5 to force out a super fast barracks. Any more than that, it's probably a bit overkill. Just because the diminishing effect of adding more workers, like going up from 1 to 2 workers or 2 to 3 workers, is quite significant. But yeah, you really start losing out more value the more you do it. And this is surprising. Why'd you go for Spearman? You're against Celt. What do you need this for? You've waited to H2 to get the barracks. Go for the throwing axeman, you crazy man. You crazy man. And this is going to slow him down a little bit here doing this. Without having a storehouse right next to all those gatherers, they're not gathering at a terribly effective rate. He really probably could do with another storehouse down, tucked in here. Send the spears here, get a throwing axeman sitting in behind them. Actually going for a long house, but it is going to get seen. Can Taz see it? Taz can see it. So Taz is going to come in here with his Celts. Try and chip away at this and deny Happy Smurf the ability to continue producing units, which is big because Taz is already up to 29 population at this point. Isn't aging up till now, so he's had to get some as Celt, he's had to actually get 3 houses to age up, but he would have had to get them anyway to keep producing units at this point. Happy Smurf aging up there, going to be slow on the longhouse now. Not getting any stone and distance gathering this wood still, so that's not great for him. And he's forcing a lot of villagers onto the longhouse, so he hasn't got loom in the meantime, which is, guys, a big pro tip. If you are caught in a situation where you can't produce anything, get this. Just do it. Just do it. Trust me, 40% more health. Just think about how many times a villager could have got out if they had just a little bit more health. Because this is the #1 insurance policy in the ancient world. And right now, oh, War Dogs, oh, this is interesting. Suddenly, Happy Smurf is my favourite player in the game again. Because he's built some War Dogs, done a little bit of harass to Taz here, forced him to bring some spears back, or at least 1 spear back. He can pinch these cows too by just slowly tracking them around, and use them to actually scout where Taz is leaving his units, because Taz has Happy Smurf encaged at the moment. He's going to try and deal a little bit more damage if he can. This isn't going to be the best of trades for Taz. Going to lose a spear. Another one going to get... Oh yeah, he's lost that one too. Spearman over here defending against another 2 spears. So again, the Celt spears. The beauty of them lies in their ability to be super mobile. It's only 4.1 speed now because he's snared, but they've actually a 7 speed unit compared to the 6 speed of the North spears. But have a look at the stats. So you got 2 more damage, you got 1 more speed, but you've got 110 less health. So Babylonian spears also have 260 health, and they've got 11 damage, so 1 more damage than the North spear. Greek ones have 230 health, but they've also got 11 damage. So 30 less than the Norse and Babylonian, but same damage as the Babylonian, 1 less than the Norse. But the Greek one, the Celt ones, their value lies in their ability to be able to chase things. The Norse, the War Dogs are 9 speed units. These spears can almost keep up with them. So Happy Smurf doesn't get much opportunity to try and attack them. He's got to actually try and take out individual spears, but not before these other units get on top of them, and he's going to lose these War Dogs in trying to attempt to do so. Also on a town centre fire, so it's not really a worthwhile attempt for him because he needs to be able to micro perfectly to be able to pull off play like that. He is going to find a scout there. Did he bring those cows all the way back home yet, or did Taz get them? I don't know. So that the War Dogs not getting a huge amount of value for Happy Smurf, but they have actually slowed Taz down a bit in terms of how much pressure he's been wanting to mount on Happy Smurf. He's been largely just sending in these spears he's had surrounding his opponent's base for now and keeping everything back at home. So perhaps it's just brought Happy the little bit of breathing room he needs to get himself underway. He needs to get a second town centre out though, because Taz is nearly finished his, and the longer the gap is between one finishing and the other, the wider the economic gap is going to be. And this is a terrible fight for Happy to have happen on him. He obviously was paying attention to his base, didn't see the units come in, and now he's got to try and micro the War Dogs out of there, and it doesn't look like he's going to be successful in saving that little fella. And now there is one still left here. So these guys, they don't deal a lot of damage, but they do have really good snare, and if you mass them up, they can be quite effective against small numbers of villagers that haven't got loom, that haven't got hunting dogs, although Taz has now got hunting dogs. Because hunting dogs actually gives villagers faster attack speed and more damage against the huntable anything tagged as a huntable or a herdable. War Dogs are actually tagged as both a huntable and a cavalry unit, funnily enough. So bearing in mind, if you do play legendaries and you want to muck around with War Dogs, play the ones that don't have no cavalry optionals. Just letting you know right now that you need that, because you need to know that, because if you're going to muck around on Norse for the War Dogs builds, like with Vemender, you really need to make sure you're not doing one of those quests, because you'll piss off yourself and your teammate when you fail an optional. A fairly greedy market in essence, because it's actually closer to his opponent than it is to him, whereas if he had have gone for one, either just a small market here and maybe go for a town centre over here or a town centre over here, or go for the market over here, it's still further away from his opponent than it is from him. So that's one of the things you can do to sort of optimize. Where do I place my market in the game? Well, if you place it something like here, you're going to have to defend quite heavily against this. Your opponent can actually just rush into here and deny any caravans quite easily. A fortress goes up here, you're screwed. You've got to restart all over again. Whereas if you go down here, he's actually got to travel all this way to be able to interrupt anything. And that's just a much shorter attack path for him. In fact, that's probably the shortest path you could have picked for him to attack. You know, for having a functional market line there. And it's a good greedy market line, don't get me wrong, but it's also essentially the high risk, high reward market line, whereas the one down here would be nearly as high reward for a fair bit less risk, whereas obviously something back here, no risk, no reward. And Taz taking Silver Age. Happy Smurf, a little bit down on population, 35 villages. Taz has got 42, so he's actually up by a little bit there, by 7. Happy Smurf getting a mixture of infantry out now. So Taz going to opt for stables units, but considering Happy Smurf has been producing spears on and off all game, I'm not sure if that's going to be the best response for him, because obviously the horsemen, they're going to be great at mopping up raiders and horsemen of the Norse player, but the Norse player here is going for infantry for now. Especially the spearmen, they're going to be able to take reasonably good fights against the horsemen. Obviously the Norse player is going to probably want to get some horsemen of their own at this stage though, once he does take age 3, but yeah, I mean, with throwing axemen and spearmen, the cavalry from Taz are largely going to have to be used as either a raiding unit or as a front line while he gets a range behind this. The Woads, again, a good raiding unit choice, but as well, same deal as a horseman. They're not very effective against the composition the Norse player has so far. There is a stables being added in the mix now, though, so... But Happy is in H2 for now. The only thing Raiders are going to be good at against is Slingers, which Taz doesn't have. But he is going to make some anyway, just to try and do some raiding, I think. Taz already getting up to H3. Another farm. Going down here for Happy Smurf, so again, he could potentially just... I think they might have... Yeah, there's probably a hunt down here, or a hunt down here, if not both, because this map actually has quite a few. So, perhaps Happy needs to be more proactive at scouting out this side to see if there's a hunt. A couple of horsemen in the mix now for Taz, because he knows there's no horsemen yet for Happy Smurf, so the Kel player actually does have a lot of free reign here to raid for now, between the horsemen and the Woad Raiders. Because the only thing that'll really catch the Woad Raiders is the Raiders, and without armory upgrades, advantages, they're not going to be able to take a good fight against Woads. They're actually worth less than the Woads, and a faster unit, so they're actually less value in terms of the fighting stats. And the Raiders versus the Horsemen is straight up not a good trade, because these guys counter cavalry, Raiders counter ranged, and again, not the best but not the worst of trades here for Happy Smurf. These throwing axemen though, are going to be able to do a lot of damage to the Woad Raiders, because they're not a traditional ranged unit which the Woad Raiders actually counter. These guys are still infantry flagged, basically a melee infantry that attacks at range. But I'll be interested to see if Happy can mount some good aggression out of this. He's falling behind in population, so 77 villages to 44. That three town centers plus market advantage versus just 2 town centers, no market, is really opening up the villager count lead in favor of Taz. But Happy Smurf is spending reasonably well. He's got a nice force here. Probably could do with a bit of a bigger army size at this stage of the game, but he may be able to get some more value out of this time. And so the throwing axemen have a nice little wall of these spearmen, who are actually tankier. Even though they don't deal a lot of damage versus the infantry, their bigger health pool of 50% means that the longswordsmen take a longer time to get through them. The throwing axemen can sit at the back and get away a nice number of volleys without having to worry about being microed everywhere. And Taz actually losing this fight now. Happy Smurf running in with some raiders to deal a little bit of damage here. Gonna get a couple of villager kills there at least. And he's right on top of his opponent's production facilities. Throwing axemen versus bowmen is probably the best infantry versus bowman unit scenario you can have. Even though it's a shit situation. Sorry, I shouldn't swear on this channel. Even though it's a crappy situation, it is the most soft counter of those situations. So you at least attack from range, you at least have a little bit of multiplier against them. So the throwing axemen going to try and chip away at things around the map here. But Taz may be able to play defensively well enough to work his way out of this, I think. He's still got a score lead over Happy Smurf, but Happy Smurf up to 47 villagers. Oh, 47 to 92 villager counts. So Happy Smurf, again, struggling with that villager count because he's only on 2 town centers still. And he's going to have the resources for his H3 town center, but he still hasn't got a market either, so Taz still has that advantage over him. He's going to continue to use his H3 techs here, so he's getting the gold mines out. It's going to make it harder for Happy Smurf to actually kill any villagers on these gold mines because they're locked away inside a building, a nice little vault. And there's a guard tower going to come up here, help protect this market, but when you're in the stage of the game where players have tons of cavalry with armor upgrades on it and with damage upgrades, towers suddenly aren't, single towers aren't so much a problem. Fortresses, on the other hand, at least take a little bit of work to get through. The will spare, I mean, your opponent will have to send some villagers, units to go and sacrifice, basically, and lock up a big portion of your army taking it. Taz pretty much only has one army upgrade at the moment. No, two army upgrades at the moment, although Taz has gone for the first ranged armor upgrade instead of the first melee armor upgrade because I don't know if it's the throwing axeman or he's that worried about the town center damage. I'm thinking it's the throwing axeman. He probably assumes they deal range damage, which they don't. So I guess he can find out about that, unless he's just accidentally done. Meantime, Happy Smurf gonna get barbed arrows. So as Norse, why would you bother? Unless you're going to play H3 Bowman. So if you are going to play H3 Bowman, it's a good idea. If you're intending at using like a Hajar, Horseman, or Raider based comp in H3, don't need that stuff. Just get more armor upgrades instead. Pop them out a bit quicker. But yeah, it's really a good idea for both civs in this matchup to really bias towards melee damage and melee armor upgrades, just considering the compositions both of them have in Age 2. Age 3 though, Taz probably can make quite a bit of use of range damage upgrades, and having that ranged armor upgrade on the Norse player is also a little bit more advisable. We're getting ranged armor as the Kel player to start with, probably a bit rushed really, but in saying that, I think this could be a good fight for Taz, or perhaps he doesn't have quite enough of a front line here. Though all those units had to come streaming through there, and that wasn't good for him. These throwing axemen are skipping straight past the infantry. That might not be so good of an idea because lets the bowmen get straight on them. And there is actually an augur in the mix, converting units slowly. And it looks like Taz is going to break Happy here. He's taking H4 behind this. Happy Smurf only down to a small amount of gold, small amount of food, which really sucks as a Norse player. You're going to burn through that very quickly, as like I said, you've got a very melee-centric army, so you don't have a lot of wood to spend. I mean, you don't need to spend a lot of wood in the late game and the mid game. And Taz backing out now, but not before he's dealt enough damage to really put himself ahead of Happy Smurf here, who's not walled off terribly much here. Does have a market down, but it's nowhere near as greedy as Taz's is. Happy Smurf honestly probably could take a leaf out of Taz, put the wall here, throw down the market here, and just rely on the greed. Because perhaps that's all he's got. Perhaps it's the only option, considering how far behind he is now. Crop rotation being researched, so that's another 10% there for Taz. So he's going to finally be able to shoot up to 1 point, I think it's 1.2 farm rate, so it's finally going to be better than the berries. And he does have the berries upgrade too. But yeah guys, if you can go for an early picker's gloves, get all the berries off the map first before you worry about taking crop rotation, just because it's such an expensive upgrade. It gives you the opportunity that if you delay it, you've got 1,000 resources to commit to an army, a bigger economy in other aspects, more technologies, in a more offensive style or in terms of other ecotechs. So yeah, it's all about trade-offs, guys, at the end of the day. Now Taz is going to try and take a fight with some rams in the mix here. The problem is with these big maps, it's a huge amount of travel time. So you need to look at getting a fairly aggressive fortress, like somewhere up here or over here in Taz's case, or for Happy Smurf, maybe one down here or maybe one over here. And a bit of an engagement going on right now. Happy Smurf with a lot of villagers being caught out. Taz actually getting a bunch of his Bard Hall upgrades, which is nice to see because, ooh, Call of the Bull, so that's the second one of those. So he's actually got his other damage upgrade. Doesn't actually have any infantry really in the composition at the moment though, so it's a bit weird. Oh no, here, does he really have? He's only got a handful of spears, so I don't know why he's making that big commitment there. That's 600 gold that could go towards other things, but at the same time, perhaps it's better safe than sorry. He knows he's up, he's got an advantage in army, in economy at the moment, so it's a good fallback if he wants to go for lots of long swordsmen and woad champions and just run them through his opponent's base from every direction. Then perhaps that's the way to go about this. But right now, there is some carp champions, so they've got nice area damage. But there perhaps just isn't the number of them that he needs. And does he? Oh, right now, oh, huge number of bowmen coming in to the back of Happy Smurf's base here. So, wow, that's a lot of empty farms at the moment. There's 25 villages garrisoned away there, and Taz all the way up to 99 villages to Happy's 55, with a lot of these garrisoned. So Happy Smurf on the brink of the end of an economy here, and Taz maxed out, continuing to get upgrades, even getting horseshoes there, so both his horsemen and his carpenters are going to be that little bit stronger, a little bit tankier and more dangerous. So Happy Smurf, is he going to be able to clean this up? He's got his opponent sort of trapped in between the two town centers. Taz perhaps is overextended here a little bit because the army is going to fall, but Taz is in the position just to keep making armies like this right now because Happy Smurf down to 51 villages. Right now there's another 6 of those idle, so 45 villages doing something compared to more than double that for Taz at the moment. Right now the eco difference is quite significant between the two players. And the barracks for Happy Smurf looks to be falling right now, and another one in a really dangerous spot. But Happy Smurf has some units here to clean this up, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. He hasn't got a lot to deal with the horsemen here. He's got a handful of spearmen in the mix, but mostly just throwing axemen and some raiders, which are only really valuable against the carpenters, and they don't have champion of their own. They don't have a lot of upgrades of their own. They're going to die. They're going to drop like flies to these horsemen who deal triple damage to the raiders, so they're dealing like they're dealing almost 90 damage to raiders, these horsemen. The horsemen in return dealing about 15 damage and back to them, yeah, 15.6, so not even a competition. The raiders at least will deal some good damage to the carpenters, but ooh, it looks as though Taz is in an extremely dominant position at the moment. I think this is going to be a GG at this stage, considering Taz's production queue has never dropped here. He's continuing to get upgrades behind this. Every last upgrade he needs. He's got 3 of his age 4 upgrades pumping now. He's got horseshoes just finishing off. He's got so many horsemen just retraining. He's all the way up to 100 villager population. He's snuck in one more caravan, I think, just to make sure he's got the gold income he needs. Happy Smurf has a small force with a villager in the mix, which is interesting. So that little villager is going to be able to build a fortress at full speed, quicker speed than the infantry. Carpentum's getting another couple of kills here, so this is good for Taz because, yeah, these carps, they just annihilate villagers with their 36 damage, and they do actually only counter ranged units, but they've got nice base damage and nice splash damage, so against anything bunched up, they tend to be worthwhile. They are a fairly late game unit, 3 population, 180 resources, and Taz forces the GG because he kills the last handful of raiders. Defending over here at the gold mine for Happy Smurf, and oh, there's 20 villagers about to all meet their untimely demise, but Happy Smurf yeah, so anyway guys, sorry to get distracted there, just talking a bit to Happy Smurf and to Taz, but congratulations to Taz today for being our 3rd place today in Finnbar's finest. and Happy Smith for coming fourth. So big shout outs to both players today. And Happy Smith just saying time to ban Greek because he's actually lasted longer this game than as his main civ in the other 2 games. So he says he was a bit silly for that actually. So I'm just sending a bit of a thank you for playing. And yeah, GG, well played to both players today. I think both of them are really going to be able to draw a bit from the experience, and I apologise in advance for maybe picking apart their play, particularly Happy Smurfs a bit too much, but yeah, GG guys. I hope you guys learned as much in this as I'm hoping you can, and had as much fun as I did, because yeah, I think it's really worthwhile. GG, 3-0 to Taz, so unfortunately for Happy Smurf, not able to drag out the series or try and overturn it and win it himself, but perhaps another day. And guys, we're going to have a quick 15-minute break before the next series starts, so I thank you again all for tuning in, and yeah, we'll be back in 15 minutes. I'll see you soon. Hello again, guys. So today we're bringing you the grand final of the Finnbar's finest, formerly 8-player, now 7-player round robin tournament. So we've got some Majesty and Alundra in our game today. All eyes on Babs. That's what Alundra just said. All eyes on Babs. So we've got a BVB. Sorry for clearing my throat on stream. Everyone looks at us in envy. I can see him in the Twitch chat. Alundra. Alright, so equal footing, mountain crossing, old woods, inland, and Ghost Lake for the map pool. Sorry, this Pepsi is giving me gas. That's such an American thing to say, giving me gas. It's giving me gas. I'm fucking burping. Oh, sorry, I can't say that on this channel. I'm bloody burping. Alright. So, game number 1 of the grand final underway today. And here we go. Please give me that sound that I want to hear so badly about the new map opening up. Go on. Oh, there we go. Yes, there we go. Give me what I want. I've been given what I want. What do you want? What we all want. What these guys want is a nice equal footing BVB Babylonian versus Babylonian for the uneducated today who do not know what all the initials for the civilizations mean. So B, Babylonian, G, Greek, R, Romans, but they're not out yet, N, Norse, C, Celt, P, Persians, E, Egypt. So guys, that's the civs. And spawning today as our player number 1, a B player, as you might recall from our little demonstration. We've got Sa Majesty spawning as player number 1, our blue player today. So Sa Majesty is blue, remember that, Sean, remember that, guys. And spawning on the top side as the red Babylonian player, we've got Alundra, the tournament favourite so far, hasn't dropped a game yet, has so far played the game against Sa Majesty, who opted for Egypt, I believe, or Persian, I can't remember, Egypt I'm pretty sure it was, and lost. So Alundra, already up by a game, actually going to go for the second villager, just to pump this out that little bit faster before he goes on the wood. I don't know if he intended to do that, but I think he might have actually. He might just want to get that quick aggression out. Sa Majesty opting for a completely the opposite sort of opening. He's gone for a double ox cart opening before anything else. I don't know if he's going to get the barracks or not, but he has got a lot of wood at the moment, so it is within reach. Alundra already on the spear production, so, and he's already going to take that hunt up there. He's found another one over here, and one over the back, which he hasn't taken just yet. Sa Majesty now going on the barracks, but it's going to be delayed compared to Alundra's, so he's going to be able to get his initial spear out, second spear on the way, third in production now. So it's coming in at the wrong side for Alundra, but he's going to see the hunt now. Or hopefully see it. He's just looking at stuff in his base, throwing down a house, had a good time. And the spears are just going to be sitting here, but at the same time, he's going to be on 3 spears as Alundra is queuing up his first, and the fourth he's going to be popping out of the barracks, so he's going to be able to take this push right now. The first 2 spears going in. Sa Majesty Scout just spotting this, but he's only realizing just now, so he's going to be forced off this hunt. And he does actually react at a good time though, pulling away just before the spears get to him, so he's wasted as much of Alundra's time with those spears as possible without taking any eco damage so far. Going straight on the berries, the beauty of Babylonian. Even though ox carts are twice as much, in fact, Sa Majesty is going to go all the way over here, straight onto this hunt at the backside, which he hasn't cleared yet. So, again, another beauty of Babylonians. You don't even necessarily have to clear, because even if the deer scatter, well, you can just move the ox cart again. And Sa Majesty going to be prepared to move once again. He probably should just garrison all this food so he can pop out another villager, because he's got enough. He needs 15 food, and he was gathering there long enough. Each of these probably, oh no, they've only just deposited maybe. So perhaps maybe should have just gone straight on the berries, because Alundra is going to be able to snipe this villager on the Ziggurat, or at least force him to have to micro it around with all this life. But instead the villager does go down. He's got another one on it. And the spears are going to focus it down now too. So Alundra going to be up by a couple of villages by now, because Her Majesty not able to train one there, and losing two right now. And the Ziggurat not going to be delayed too much longer here, but I think Alundra has already done all he needed to do with getting the fast spears, because Her Majesty 14 villages to Alundra's 18. Obviously the ox carts counts, I think, is 1 in favour of Alundra, but at the same time, yeah, he's still 4 villages ahead actually. So Jesus, he's got a reasonable lead at the moment over Her Majesty. He's about 3.5 villages ahead. He needs to get this Ziggurat up to catch up a little bit, but at the same time, Her Majesty is going for the stables, isn't going for a town centre, so he's not going to have an eco lead over his opponent in having a double town centre production faster. And the stables are going to mean, well, Her Majesty, Alundra's going to have to get Spearmen, but he's playing Babylonian, he's open Spearmen. As long as he doesn't throw too many away early on here, he's going to be in a easy position to deal with the bigger Lancer count, and then he'll just be able to get his own Lancers. So I think all we're going to see for the early stage of this game is Spearman Lancer. I'd be surprised if both players opt for something else, because they're both able to play really well around the Lancers, although Alundra actually does play quite a bit of a mixed composition in Age 1. He just tends to force out the Lancers first and then go back onto the archery range. Although here we go, he's actually opening with the range first, just to be able to deny the Spearmen, so perhaps this is ideal really, because the Spearmen are going to be able to fight the Lancers. They're Babylonian Spearmen with the champion upgrade coming in now, so 25% damage, 20% snare, so they actually hit about 14 damage per hit, as well as their multiplier, which is only 2.5. Some of the other Spearmen, like the Greek Spears, actually get 3 times. But at the same time, Bowmen are going to be able to chip down the Spearmen with the same sort of ease that Lancers will. They just won't be as mobile. But Her Majesty, Alundra can always follow this up with the stables himself, so doesn't look as though either player is getting a huge. Actually, Her Majesty is working towards the town centre. Alundra not just yet, opting for a garden first. He's going to try and maintain production as much as possible, keep spitting out units to these production facilities as quick as he can with these gardens. So for anyone that doesn't know, they actually give both the train time boost to Babylonian players and gather food over time, just generate it basically. So keep that in mind. Make sure to build them if you're Babylonian, and they are really squishy and do scale up in cost as you build them for the Babylonian player. So if you're playing into Babylonian, kill them if you see them. Especially the more he's got, the more value you get. I'll be one sec. Alright, so Alundra massing up a bit of a force here with those bowmen now in tow. Her Majesty hasn't actually been able to get out any Lancers just yet. So yeah, with the lack of Lancers, because he just hasn't been able to really afford them at this point out of double production facility plus double town centre, Her Majesty is now sort of caught on the back foot here, because there's Spearmen shielding his bowmen, getting off damage against a small number of Spearmen. Her Majesty now forced to really have to defend with the units popping out as they come, so he's only really got this one Lancer and another Lancer on the way, no more Spears in the mix, and Alundra is sending both. Actually no, he is getting some bowmen of his own, so he's actually gone up to 3 production facilities, so both players in their eagerness to go up to 3 production facilities have sort of hampered their 2 town centre economies, but right now it seems to be favouring Alundra with all that, with that early aggression, and then Her Majesty going for the quickest second town centre, but Alundra just committing to 3 production facilities and being able to afford them and not having to worry about the second town centre production just yet, is able to really push into his opponent, deal some good damage, deny Her Majesty's ability to really gather in his own base at the moment, force him to have to gather from around the second town centre, and he's free to actually take his own pharmacology, get ahead in population, up by about 12 now, so 33 workers to 27. Not too sure what the storehouse differential is now. Alundra forced out of Sa Majeste's base, but Sa Majeste really down on food and gold and banking a bit more wood than he should be at the moment. Alundra just working towards that town centre in an optimal position to be able to do so. So it's in instances like these where it is worthwhile to actually play the more aggressive strategy if you're actually able to make sure you can get value out of it, because you can just play it that cleanly and just move in with the units, scout out where you've got to go and deal the damage. Don't stuff around trying to chip away at buildings and stuff, but just get kills, get out, get gathering time deny, get out. Force your opponent to produce stuff he doesn't want to, or throw a production facility up he doesn't want to, get out. There's no need to really throw everything away. You can always come back, mass units up, particularly as Babylonian. With the pharmacology tech, age 2, they get the auto health regen on all units, all military units, as long as they are willing to make that 200 food commitment. So it's really, really worthwhile for them. Sa Majeste unable to really afford it yet at the moment. So it's going to really help Alundra, because he's had a bowman healing, he's had a spearman healing all this whole time. Already has a bigger unit count because he's actually been able to maintain triple production facility output here. So there's no slingers in the mix for Sa Majeste. He hasn't had constant spear or lancer or shield bearer production behind this to really be able to defend here. So I think Alundra is pretty safe in this game number 1 at the moment. He's pushing Sa Majeste all the way back once again, back behind his starting town centre. And there's just a single lancer here to respond to this. And he's actually going to snipe the Ziggurat here, because Alundra might even be able to sort of leapfrog his way into age 3, because he's actually all the way up to 40 villages to Sa Majeste's on 38, so he's caught up pretty well, but at the moment he doesn't have enough to really defend here, and he's dropping more villages once again, a couple more going down there. The Ziggurat going down, so Sa Majeste's got to build that in order to be able to get to age 3 now, so he's not only going to take age 3, he's actually got to spend another 400 resources getting that Ziggurat out. So even though it is quite tanky, GG, Alundra forces Sa Majeste to tap out for game number 1. So that's actually a pretty good opening game, and I was sort of expecting some really good games between these guys today, especially in this match up, because they're both quite seasoned at it for casual players. So it's quite good to, yeah, see this all go on. So Alundra actually dipping below Sa Majeste's worker count slightly there at the end, but because he just had such a big death ball of units and managed to deal a little bit of good damage at the start on the spearman, and yeah, he was really able to take advantage of his more aggressive build there. So GG, not really falling behind at all. Has a garden out, Sa Majeste doesn't. So yeah, GG, well played. That's game number 1 to Alundra today. And we'll actually just go to intermission. Alright, yeah, so GG there. Nice game number 1 there today. Next map, they're both ready already. We're going to go to Mountain Crossing. Alundra on red, Sa Majeste blue. And boy, these guys are eager. It was a good last game we had there. And that early damage from Alundra really being the tipping point, I think, because he got those couple of worker kills and slowed down the H2 from Sa Majeste, which is a little bit faster. The barracks was a little bit slower. And then from there, Sa Majeste sort of overcommitted, because he tried to get out both 3 production facilities and the town centre off a lower economy. Oh, this hasn't actually started yet. Whoops. Will be 1 second. Yeah, so Alundra really able to mount some good pressure over Sa Majeste. I did like the fact that he wanted to try and play a greedier build, but at the same time, he didn't necessarily defend that as well as he could have, I think, and Alundra was able to punish him for it. Just going to reload quickly and get this game number 2 underway. Game number 1 seemed to work fine connection wise, so hopefully it just takes a quick relog from the three of us, and we should be able to get game number 2, Mountain Crossing, underway between Sa Majesté and Alundra. Just waiting on this party invite to go through to Sa Majesté now. Okay, oh sweet, Sa Majesté finally got the invite. Alright, so we're gonna go Mountain Crossing, game number 2. Bab versus Bab once again between these two. So I'm gonna take it away and have a quick drink break. Alright, so I'm feeling a bit lucky here. Yeah, nah, it's started. Cool. So game number 2 today. Once again, Babylonian versus Babylonian. And we're on my favourite map. Got some nice, really rubbishy water lines here. So there's a second opportunity, second space. And this sort of extends outside both sides of the town centre fire. So a little bit harder for Alundra to try and cheese Sa Majesté in this instance, but at the same time it's still doable for both players in either sort of location here. So starting out player number 1 today on the best map in the world, Mountain Crossing. I'm sorry Recon, Ghost Lake is really good, I'm sorry Erie, Tundra is really good, but the best map will always and forever be this cheesy hellhole of a landscape that we call Mountain Crossing. So spawning as player number 1, we got Sa Majesté, blue Babylonian versus our red Babylonian. Tournament favourite, up 1-0 so far and up 2-0 against Sa Majesté so far in the tournament. We've got Sa Majesté, we've got Alundra, against Sa Majesté, going for this barracks. So again, a little bit faster than Sa Majesté with the barracks. So it's these little areas where he's really taking advantage against these other players, getting the second worker on the town centre as well. Sa Majesté going for his second ox cart first. As Babylonian, because your docks are so much more expensive, and your spears are such a good high value unit, it's not such a bad idea opening with the spear aggression on this map. And particularly in BVB, I suppose, because you're going to want the spears later on in the game. You know both you and your opponent are going to be a bit held up in taking a dock because it's an extra 50 wood. So, yeah, perhaps it's a good idea from both players early here to open up with the dock. Open up with the spears and possibly look at taking the dock behind it. I imagine they would. Alundra is going to get the fastest spearman out, but Sa Majesté not too far behind it. Probably needs to get another food gather though, because he's only on 4. Alundra's on 5. Going to be able to maintain continual spear production. Sa Majesté just now finishing up, just starting on his first spear, just finishing up, and Alundra's already got 2 over in his base, so Sa Majesté a little bit messier in that opening there. Going to be a bit delayed in the spears, but at the same time, he's still got a bit of a defender's advantage in being able to reinforce here, because Alundra has to travel all this way to be able to mount any pressure. Alundra taking a bit of damage initially, but he's willing to do so because he's denying Sa Majesté the ability to keep gathering there. There's not enough spears on his opponent, from his opponent, to really deny his opportunity to kill the workers, so he's able to deny Sa Majesté the hunts, but he should be able to actually take another hunt on this side of his base, so it's really pretty lucky actually considering it's Mountain Crossing. And Alundra actually taking a spear out in revenge for losing one there. Sa Majesté dealing a minor amount of damage to another spear, but ultimately was forced to actually have to move to a second huntable now, so Alundra already making his mark this game. Alright, I like this. So Sa Majesté has seen how exposed this actually is. And I think Alandra's probably scouted out this side as well, so they both got a good opportunity to cheese one another. The scout's standing up on top of the horse, just showing us how talented he is, how good his balance is, and how strong his horse is. So, go Alandra's scout, and these spears from Alandra, unable to get a worker kill, but once again, going to get some good gathering denial here. There's no gathering time happening. His Majesty forced off that gold mine, and he's really only got enough for a single spear. 5 gold off having a second spear out, so he's not going to be too badly off because of that. But he is forced off the hunt onto the berries, and he's not opting to go back onto the hunt. So this is going to be where he starts to slow down versus Alandra, who for now is Alandra gathering. Alandra's gathering from here. Yes. Yeah. So Alandra still gathering from the hunts. His Majesty gathering them from berries. So Alandra already getting a bit of an advantage over his opponent with his aggression. I'd be interested to see who manages to get a dock out first. Alandra getting the armory range out first. And His Majesty just now starting on his ziggurat, so he's behind on the whole age. And as Babylonian, you don't have to sacrifice producing villages in order to get it out, so a lot of the time you can take it a little bit later than the other civs might start it, and just continue producing villages through it and end up with a nice eco early on that you otherwise wouldn't have as quickly when you're going to actually throw down your town centre, or you can take it around the same time. There's a lot of spearmen there for Alandra. At the same time, His Majesty, he's going to be able to pull off this cheese, so I'm going to be really happy to see how this goes. Oh man, I've been waiting for this. Like I've actually waited the whole tournament for this. Like no joke. I'm not even gonna fib. This is all I've really cared about all tournament. So, and this is perfect. So His Majesty out of vision of the dock of Alandra, able to proxy dock his opponent, who he's going to have admittedly a slightly harder time trying to fit in here now that His Majesty's taken the good side. You can fit a worker through that gap, I think, but it would be really tight trying to get your opponent to not see it. I mean, it's like Zerton versus Carnage tier, trying to slip a worker through that gap, but I'm sure, based off the games they played last tournament, that they'd be able to pull something like that off again. And we've got a Byrim probably on the way once he gets the goal for it. So Majesty actually under a bit of attack here. So he's just rallied some spears in to try and defend, but he hasn't got enough because Alandra already has the bowman in the mix, and it has a bigger spear count because he's just been continually producing them the whole time. So Majesty trying to force up a bit of a panic tower, but he hasn't got the ox cart on the gold mine, and he hasn't got really enough villagers producing this quickly. So Alandra is going to back out, but at the same time, His Majesty is still desperately trying to get the gold. He needs to get that Byrim out, because the earlier he can get this out, the more impact he can actually do, denying Alandra the opportunity to gather any of this and actually being able to go for it himself. So he's actually walling all this off. This is really smart play from him. I wonder where he learned this. Holy, it's lagging up right now. I don't know why. So, His Majesty defending with the small amount of units he's got. He's got his own bowman now. Neither player has oh no, Alandra's got pharmacology. And there is a Byrim on the way. So here we go, guys. This is what we want to see. This is what we came to see right now. So there is the Byrim popping out. The stable's just going down for Alandra, so he can't really afford to actually build. And Alandra can't see it yet. Perfect. So His Majesty can take a second at this stage. He just needs to finish the house to get a second one out, and he can really hurt Alandra here. He's committing to the net lure, so this is even better. He can go for another fishing ship. His Majesty can get the warship and really push. Oh, in fact, His Majesty is going for the fishing boat straight away because he wants to try and maintain the greed and try and catch up on economy now. So the fishing ships are going to fall for Alandra. And I wonder what his answer is going to be. He's already queued up the Byrim, so that's good for Alandra. So Majesty has actually switched to being able to queue up a second Byrim because he's actually anticipated coming out from his opponent. Forced to defend at home with less units here, so His Majesty really has to hold on now because He has that advantage under his opponent's base, but at the same time, he really is at a big disadvantage with his units here in his own base. Right now, double Byreme versus single Byreme. I don't think either player is really worried about microing these, because, well, Smajesté actually doing it. In the meantime, Smajesté losing all of his gatherers back at home, so Alundra has this huge force in his base at the moment. These 7 bowmen, 2 spearmen left versus a slinger and a lancer, so things aren't going to go too well. But Alundra backing out now because Smajesté has actually managed to secure that water, can chip away at that stables too. Once he's taken out this dock, he can get that a little bit closer, have one, possibly both of the Byremes, chip away at that, and yeah, he's got that water under control. Alundra forced to take the topside dock, and if Smajesté scouts that, he can actually destroy that pretty quickly. But in saying that, he doesn't have a lot of units back at home, so he's probably just going to rely on trying to get control of this water, keep gathering. He's even got the villager there chopping, so that's a good idea when it's actually locked up behind that wall if you don't want to spend the money on a gate for now. Just have it gathering. The slingers really need to be focusing the bowmen though, because they're getting all this free fire off on this front line of Smajesté, and there is a spearman in the mix. Luckily he's not actually being focused by the bowman. But Alundra now dipping down in score because he's forced to have to try and figure out what he's going to do for food. He's delayed on... I mean, he's getting a garden now, but he's a little bit slower on that because he committed to the water first, got the upgrade even, and just now he's able to get on the water again. So Majesté now has 2 lakes, can actually basically get all the fish out of this because there was only about 300 actually gathered, 250 out of that. And oh, this garden is under fire, so this is not going to be good for Alundra because that's another 120 resources down the dunny right now, so that's terrible for him. And he's going to try and throw down the tower, but the Byremes might be able to hit the villagers on the edge there, and if they can do that, they can deny that as well, buy themselves just a little bit more time. Is he focusing the towers or the villager? He should focus the villagers, because if he gets the villager kill, that's actually much more impactful. But right now he's actually being pushed into Majesté, once again having to defend from Alundra's really bold push here. The slingers being forced back by the lancers and picked off, who are also copying the brunt of the static defense fire, which is great for Alundra. He's getting all these nice villager kills, denying all this gathering time once again. Majesté dipping in score, both players on 2 town centers, but right now Alundra almost a repeat of game 1 sends the water, and he's really pushing through his opponent's base. Majesté might have been able to turn it right now because he's got that tower in play, so that's a nice 25 DPS with that tower. And Alundra having to scramble to try and gather inside his own base right now because he's lost the garden, he's lost the dock, he's going to lose a house for this. That stables should be in range as well. Majesté overextending a little bit here though, so that's not good for him because he's not been able to build up a bigger army count than Majesté, than Alundra so far. Populations are pretty neck and neck, but Majesté has these 2 warships, so that's another 4 population. He's going to be able to focus down that stables over time. So Alundra is going to have to build another one to replace it eventually, so this has been worth it really in a sense because Alundra committed basically 350 wood that he otherwise wouldn't have. The upgrade sort of doesn't, it's a bit of an outlier, but then he's also lost the garden, lost the house, lost a tower while it was building, going to lose the stables as well, so Majesté really buying a bit of value there in seizing his opponent's water. Even though Alundra's got uncontested land here, he can also lose this dock pretty easily because it's actually over Majesté's side of the map. Majesté getting some nice damage here, delaying the armory, getting a worker kill, another armory going up for Alundra, and the melee armor upgrade finishing up. The melee damage upgrade has finished up, but Majesté just has a good number of lancers at the moment, so he should be able to get a nice couple of villager kills here or something, or even focus down one of these gardens. I think he's going to focus down, yeah, one of the gardens. So it's another 140 resources for Alundra to replace that, so that's good, worth even more than a lancer, and he's going to get a nice kill there, but he's going to have to back out because I think Majesté may be down an army upgrade for now. Getting another couple of villager kills, delaying the garden for a second there, and throwing up a wall in response inside his own base just to make sure he's going to be controlled against this, and he scouted this out from his opponent, I think. Oh, actually, perhaps he hasn't. I don't know if he's actually seen that, but he hasn't seen the dock yet, so I'd be interested to see if he does see it, because right now the army is going to try and take out the warships. I wonder if Sa Majesté can react to this in time. He's back at home looking at his workers on his wood line. He's going to lose both of his ships for free, so Alundra now has the opportunity to try and pinch back this water. He's going to try and angle his way down through here, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get all the way onto the dock. He will, but the tower is going to be defended because there isn't enough wood there. Sa Majesté is going to try and get on this waterline, going to try and push his opponent at the same time, and Alundra is busy trying to take down this dock. He can even use the villager to repair at this stage if he wanted to, and try and pick off the ranged units above all else. But he is going to get another bireme. So this bireme's going to be able to get a lot of value as long as it's right. Oh, he needs to get it. He needs to get it back here because Alundra's trying with all his might to get through the gap, but he can't. There's no gap there. So, the bireme comes out. He does. He pulls it back from the shore. He's going to get so many kills here. So Alundra in a terrible position now, dropping down by 10 population. Sa Majesté pinching a garden off him at this point. And this bireme's going to do so much work because Alundra has a lot of his army there right now. Sa Majesté doesn't have a huge land army and is being blocked off again, but there's a lot of villagers here trying to get these walls up quickly. So the three of them go down. Sa Majesté can be a little bit ahead on worker count. 58 workers to 56 right now. So Sa Majesté just a little bit ahead on workers and taking a defense, an aggressive tower there. And he's going to be able to pick off these two stables if he wants to again. But he's going to save this wall. So this cheese has worked marvelously for him so far. He has got these units trapped inside his opponent's base, so he needs to back these guys off to about here, mass everything up, because Alundra is only down by about 5 population, but is still down by a little bit in score. And the lion has actually picked off one of Alundra's ox carts in the meantime. I don't think he realized he had that guy just chilling up there. And this is going to finish up in a second, so it's going to be able to hit the ships there. And that's going to be devastating for Alundra because he's going to be back down to 0 water once again. Merchant transport coming out. Bit of a strange choice. Bit of a misclick there, I think. I think he probably meant to just get a bireme behind the fishing ships. And he needs to repair this, so he's got the worker there to be able to do so. It's really, really low though. 79, and it only costs a small amount of wood to actually get all that repaired. So he really needs to be on top of that. The tower finishing up just in time to be able to deal some damage here, but he needs to select the ship down there and try and go for a dock of his own over this side. Alundra has a nice force now, but he's still down by about 15 pop now, so Sa Majesté is actually maxing out reasonably well behind this. Needs to be able to try and chip away at this tower though. He's got a second bireme there doing nothing right now, so that's not good for him, but he is forcing Alundra back off this gold mine over here, but Alundra being a bit cheeky, gathering this gold over his opponent's side of the base, and Alundra probably has the bigger army here because there's only Sa Majesté's lancers here at the moment. So I think a lot of them are going to fall. So Alundra really doing a good job of cleaning up there, getting his age 3 on the way. The tower is going to probably finish up unless this second bireme takes part in trying to chip this down, because it is going to get repaired pretty quickly. He needs to bring that bireme up and try and chip away at that if he wants to maintain complete control of this waterline. But right now, Sa Majesté is going to lose this center lake, I think, because Alundra has this nice force here to actually come and clean this up with. The tower isn't going to last very long. It's going to pick off a couple of bowmen. If they, the bireme might not get out in time. He needs to send the worker that's there to repair quickly. The bireme is going to finish. Okay, so Alundra is going to get the bireme. Sa Majesté going to get the bireme. Alundra hasn't got a bireme out on or in production at all just yet. So these fishing ships are going to be denied. The towers are going to go up from Alundra, but he's going to have to commit to all that. In the meantime, Alundra is having to defend against Sa Majesté busting down the gates here. Alundra a little bit more gold in the bank at this point. Sa Majesté down to basically no gold, but he does have a mine down here and is throwing down 2 markets, forcing Alundra to have to gather all over the map. These towers are both really quite low now, so he can clean this up quite quickly. Take advantage of this again. If he can move this bireme up here, he can actually deny his opponent's wood gathering again. But that tower is going to take out the bireme, so that's a good connection there from Alundra, focusing down that The Lancers are going to fall. And Sa Majesté, I don't know if he's got enough to really be able to push through his opponent right now, because Alundra just has a nice force there, good amount of upgrades on them. And there's no bariums here. There's no towers either, so Sa Majesté can always... He is going to get some more bariums because he can defend, he can raid all that. Has blocked this, stolen the water there off Alundra, so Alundra down on score for the time being. So Sa Majesté just needs to make sure he doesn't get too many units on the water, because he needs this land population to be able to break his opponent right now. He's got a population advantage, but Alundra has been playing so well this tournament. And Alundra is going to try and take out this wall, so Sa Majesté needs to maintain a bit of an army to be able to deal with all this. Denied the water down here. Has these bariums just chilling here, so if you can send them up here to harass on those villages, it could be a huge amount of damage. But at the same time, he's being careful, trying to get his eco out as much as he can, getting some more stables up, getting some more gardens finished off, because he needs to be able to defend this push, and he can really try and break Alundra for the fact that Alundra has very little water, food eco, considering he's got no water anymore. Sa Majesté successfully managed to get it down to a 0 water game for his opponent, so this is great for him. The one mounted archer being able to get off a little bit of extra damage on those lancers, which is nice for him, but there's just so many units for Alundra at the moment. These Changeman lancers are going to be able to deal so much damage. There's only a handful of stables here for Sa Majesté, but he has got them all maxed out in production, so that's good. And he's still sitting back here. He really needs to move up here if he wants to put the pressure on his opponent. At the same time, he's having to defend with all his might. Got mass mounted archers, getting a chariot archer as well, which is a bit odd. He's probably meant to get another mounted archer. It's Sa Majesté. Ooh, I don't know if Alundra's got enough to really be able to break him here. There's not a second town centre in play here, so it's all the way up over on this top side. So Alundra able to really take advantage of the fact that Sa Majesté's base layout is really, really greedy, and Sa Majesté still hasn't moved these bariums, so that's huge. Without moving the bariums up, he hasn't really slowed down Alundra at all here, because Alundra's going to be able to fit in sappers behind this and start chipping away at buildings in Sa Majesté's base. So it's been a good opening to the game, but Alundra, having fought down from 0 docks, seems to be doing it at this point. He's killing all these caravans, and Sa Majesté running low on wood right now, forcing down some more production facilities, getting some workers out of there because he wants to try and get on the gold mine and the wood up here. He needs to try and... Oh, he's got plenty of food at the moment. Doesn't really need to move to that lake just yet, but he needs to move these bariums up because Alundra is tearing his base apart at the moment. Alundra doing so well to take these fights, push through his opponent's base, just kill all these units. So Sa Majesté down to 77 villages, but Alundra only on 63 at this point, so Alundra being able to take advantage of having a much bigger army. But Sa Majesté still up in the worker count, but there is this big force of units, even though they're pretty crappy at trying to focus down buildings other than the sappers. Still a bigger army than what he's got at the moment, so he needs to try and max out in response to this. All these workers here are pretty undefended, so they need to probably try and just head out the other side of the wall. I think they're going to do just that, actually. The tower's going to go down, and I think Alundra is going to try and deny Sa Majesté's markets here. Big force there for Alundra. Sappers in the mix, but they're not been focusing down buildings, so not being used ideally, but at the same time, they are a nice cheap filler unit if you've got both a bit of excess food and gold. But Sa Majesté, oh man, what are you... You need to get these up here, like that's like 50 villages. He's going to lose a couple of stables for his troubles now, Sa Majesté. Alundra really getting a lot of value out of this push. He's been inside his opponent's base for ages. Both players fighting over this gold mine now. But I think... Ooh. Alundra is going to be able to cut off Sa Majesté's markets, so he's pulling ahead in eco by a lot now. 73 villages for Sa Majesté. Alundra up to 67. So Sa Majesté no longer with the worker lead, and just down in terms of population by about 20, so he's going to need to start doing something around the map here. Getting some more markets over here, getting some more wood fill up this side of the map. And now the bariums move in for the kill, so this is what I've wanted to see for a couple of minutes here, because this is really going to be a pest for Alundra. He's going to have to figure out where he wants to gather wood. He's only got 7 wood gatherers now. And there's a good number of mounted archers here for Sir Majesty, but he's still down by about 40 population, so things for Sir Majesty are really getting dire right now. He's got no towers left here, he hasn't got stacked town centres, he's only in age 3, so it's not as though his town centre is going to be able to deal the world. And GG! Sir Majesty taps out. What a back and forth of a game. What a crazy game. GG! So Sir Majesty really probably could have dealt that damage a little bit earlier, but he did deal it in the end. But I think if he had dealt it a little bit earlier, he could have dissuaded from Alundra from pushing in so hard, so early there, because he just seemed to sit inside his base for about 4 or 5 minutes and wiped out the markets, really denied any gathering around here, didn't even really pick off any gardens, just took good fights and backed off, came down here, ended up wiping out all the villages, and GG guys. Even had a bit of a gold mine out, except for this one mine here in Alundra's base. But wow, what a game! That's unbelievable stuff. Alright. So we're going to go to a match point here. On Wildwoods. Next game will be on Inland if Sir Majesty can take a game off Alundra here, but right now Alundra yet to drop a game. He's 1 win away from a Royal Road in this tournament, doing the same as Kaya in the previous beginners tournament in No Bids Brawl. So right now, Alundra looking so strong, but Sir Majesty was inches from winning that game, I think, at several points then. So it's really good signs there from both players, both really having to adapt on the fly to one another's aggression. So I think it's a good game for their development. Anyway, it'll just be a minute, and then we'll get game 3 underway. So man, just said Wildwoods is too small, I want to veto and get Arabia. Unfortunately, man, I don't think anyone other than you and Ace wants to see Arabia. The map just needs a rework, it needs to be smaller. And having cross spawns would probably be nice. Like if you just made it smaller, made it cross spawns. Or same spawns even, but yeah, just smaller. Maybe even make the terrain less easy to get the walls, because it's just so easy to wall off in that map too. Coupled with the big long distance, it just ends up being total to age 4. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to game number 3 in our series between Sir Majesty and Alundra for the for the Finnbar's Finest Finals. Thinking about no bids because I was talking about Kaya's run last tournament comparing to Alundra's so far, and Alundra, here we are, our player number 1, our favourite. Oh no, it's actually that's Sir Majesty. Our player number 1 today, Sir Majesty, a semi-finalist in the no bids tournament and grand finalist today, down 2-0, facing Alundra for the 4th time in the tournament, 3rd time in this series. Yet to take a game off him, but I'm feeling pretty confident because last game he came close, and when he cheesed that dock, he really seemed to turn things around, sniped a garden off Alundra and just did a bit of damage throughout his base as well. So I was a bit surprised things didn't go better for him. And Alundra over here, our player number 2 today, our favourite for the tournament, already up in this series 2-0, and he's on the slightly faster dock compared to his opponent, getting that second worker on it just to force it out that bit quicker. And we'll see how this pans out for him. So far, getting the quicker spear has been really, really good for him. Pretty much all the games he's played this tournament, it's meant that he's been able to get that little bit more damage out than his opponents. And at this level of play, that tends to really be what the deciding factor is, I think, because it just means that from then on, the lead just tends to snowball as the players just sort of haphazardly try and deal harass to one another and try and take good fights that end up not being that good just because the map awareness and their understanding of all the civs and their the matchup complexities in the game, because you know there's a lot of matchups in this game. It just isn't all there. So it tends to be great if you can hit the ground running, deal that little bit of damage over your opponent, and then just when ahead, get more ahead. It's pretty easy, guys. It's easy. It's simple stuff. Right now, Alundra moving in with his starting spears. Samajeste moving his first spear over to defend. So he's got that second spear now. So again, the build difference is already starting to show. Alundra taking a tiny hit to his economy in order to force out the quicker barracks. And it really means he can attack his opponent willy-nilly here, because Alundra, Samajeste trying to defend both sides of his base, and the spears come in, just harass 1 on 2. So if he didn't tank the town center shots, then it would have been a really good trade for him. That's really the only thing that sort of saves Samajeste's bacon there in a sense. Oh, Alundra overstepping the mark here with the spear, so this is going to get picked off. This will be a good pick off for Samajeste. Even getting it that low is going to mean that he's going to be pretty useless in a fight, although it is going to bait him back. Ooh, so Alundra might be able to get some good value. Oh, deciding to back off, doesn't want to risk any more town center fire, so he's lost the spearman advantage there. And Samajeste going for the quicker. Oh, both same time Ziggurat, really. Samajeste's tiniest bit quicker there. I just thought Samajeste might want to delay it that little bit longer and just get out another couple of villages before he throws it up. Just sit on the spears for a little bit and try and overwhelm his opponent, because he's been known to do that when he wants to and when he needs to. He's a very good aggressive player, Alundra. At the same time, Samajeste known for being able to defend reasonably well, be quite aggressive himself, and also make good use of the harass with the the Lancers in H2. So the Ziggurat finishing up now, 2 workers on that to force it up that bit quicker. Samajeste does still need a bit more stone actually. Get his second town centre up, has the wood for both the stables and the town centre, but is needing to take care of these villages right now, because Alundra has moved straight in with 5 spearmen, and he's going to put a bit of a spanner in the works here, because he's going to get a couple of villager kills for his troubles. The ox cart probably not going to be as easy to pick off as one of these villages. It's got about 2.5 times the health pool, so right now he is just chasing Samajeste's workers around, but at the same time this is denying a lot of gathering time, and the range goes up for Samajeste. So being denied the opportunity to jump straight on the stables, he's going to have to get the range to defend for a bit. And Alundra already ahead on the range there actually. So Samajeste 21 workers, Alundra 22, so he's opened himself up a tiny gap now. And this is where he can work on getting more ahead, because he's already ahead, so it's harder to throw when you're ahead. And the more ahead you are, the harder it is to throw, guys. And there's actually 2 ox carts over here, so a bit unnecessary. All the fighting in the base here has actually sort of had Samajeste shuffle things around a bit. He's got an ox cart over here where he nearly needs it over here on the gold mine, because, well, he needs to get the gold as well. Having the stone is good, but that's 2 ox carts doing a 1 ox cart's job. And right now, Alundra gearing up with more and more spearmen. Set 4 population advantage over Samajeste, who is looking at moving out now. So this is actually perfect for Alundra, because if he pushes in now, his opponent's going to have nothing to defend. There's 6 spears to fight against a possible Lancer popping out. And I don't know if Samajeste can really afford it. He's not actually producing any military at the moment. These spears are going to be able to go straight on the stables. And one of them going to try and chip away at the villager. Not going to be able to get her without dying, but the stables isn't going to last long enough to fit out a Lancer, I don't think. And Samajeste moving out now, but it's been really rough for him, because right now he's losing that stables, down to 2 production facilities again, forced off the house before it finishes up, so this is terrible for him. If Alundra snipes this, that's like 47 wood down the drain for Samajeste. He's still got to throw up another house. And Alundra gonna have to deal with a small amount of damage here, but he's only going to lose a couple of workers for his troubles. He's at the same time got a far bigger unit count in his opponent's base at the moment, sending over more units still. And he's picking off these workers going for this gold mine here. So Sa Majesté not able to gather any gold safely at the moment. And not actually gathering any stone safely really at the moment. And the workers, with a couple of bowmen in support, clean that up. And Alundra gets the GG. We have a tournament winner today, guys. So Alundra 3-0 has done it. Sa Majesté tapping out in only 7 minutes in the final game, but it was just really rough there. Moving out with the 4 spears, already down on the unit count. Villager counts 29 to 26 in the end, so I think he was already down by 1 or 2 villagers and down by about 3 military units, and yeah, just not having those spears at home, not bringing them back to try and clean this fight up, not having any... Really, he probably needed more slingers than bowmen, I think, or going 50-50, because he really needed to be able to clean up the bowmen. Use the town centre to clean up the bowmen and actually get your own bowmen. It's probably the most ideal way. But yeah, GG guys, we have a winner of Finnbar's finest. So Alundra has done it. Good stuff guys, and yeah, we've got a... That's alright man. He said thanks for the tournament and the casting, but anything for you guys. And yeah, we got a bit of a big lead there for Alundra in the end. Sa Majesté largely just banking things up. I think he sort of got a little bit caught up once Alundra had really applied the pressure and just sort of got steamrolled in the end. And GG, well played guys. Thank you for coming along. Thanks to all of our players who've taken part in this tournament today and over the past month. And big thank you to our developers, both the originals like Microsoft and GPG and all that sort of thing, Robot Entertainment and stuff, and big thank you to the Project Celeste developers, because without them running this little community, we wouldn't have the opportunity to have these games. And I want to send a big thank you to you guys for tuning in, for putting up with me. I don't know how the hell you do it. Fuck man, I'd hate to put up with me. And yeah guys, thanks for coming in and watching the game. And I think I'm going to run another event shortly. I'll probably do some show matches next weekend, and then look at running short tournaments on the lead up to Romans. Then the devs can run the big tournament like Erie and WoW. I've probably got something planned to run, you know, for cash for all the big guns like Carnage and Zerton and Erie. Yeah, and in the lead up to that, I want to run some small tournaments, maybe another Finnbar's Finance, but I want to run Zoo Zealots in the least, and maybe also run Combutus' challenges, which will sort of basically where Finnbar's Finest is sort of the guys just making it through the ranks. Zoo Zealots is sort of the more experienced guys, and Combutus' challenges are like the guys that are not top tier tournament players, but the people that have typically had, you know, get through to the second round or play the first round or that sort of thing, you know. So might even take the odd game off the top level guys in Sparta Arena, that sort of thing. So anyway guys, big thank you to all of you for tuning in, for Des letting me run this, PF2K especially, if you get, you know, having to go through the hassle of handing out the rewards and WoW for more or less, being the bloke that just oversees all the tournaments, make sure we don't get too loose, do anything too stupid, and that it's all sort of balanced and fair and everything. And yeah guys, I'm gonna see you later, eh? I'm gonna get all this uploaded to YouTube and I'll probably come play. See you soon.